Good morning, everybody. My name's Phil Ike, and we are here for another episode of the Michigan Main Street Stories series. This time we're in Boyne City with my two new friends, Michelle and Jordan. Good morning, guys.
Good morning, Phil.
Good morning.
People listen to me talk all the time, so I'm not going to introduce you. I'll ask you to introduce yourself. Michelle, ladies first. Who are you and what do you do here in Boyne City?
Michelle Courtwright. I was a charter member of the Main Street Board when we first formed our Main Street program. Entrepreneur, small business owner for my entire career.
Yeah, publishing company.
Yeah.
I mean, you run into coffee shops and retail and all sorts of things. This is my first time talking to a publisher. How did you get into publishing?
Oh, it was a long and winding road.
Yeah. They always are. Were you a writer at first, or like
I think it came with me.
Yeah.
I think it was in my blood. You
Wow.
know? Yeah.
That's very cool.
Yeah.
I love that. Jordan, who are you and what do you do here?
Yeah, so my name is Jordan Peck, and I am the Boyne City Main Street Executive Director. I've been in that role for 10 months now. Previously, I did work with the Boyne City Main Street program as their farmers market manager.
Oh, really?
Too. So I've been with the Boyne City Main Street program for going on 5 years now.
Wow. How did you get into that farmers market manager role?
You know, it was a long and winding road, really.
So, they always are.
Yeah. I had to steal that one from Michelle.
Yeah.
It was... previously I actually worked in the bakery downtown, one of the bakeries that we're going to be going to later this morning, Gilda's Lake Street Bakery. I worked there, and completely fell in love with the family that works there, and also with all the people that came into the bakery on a daily basis, and became friends with a lot of them. One of them it was Michelle and some others in the Main Street program, and when the farmers market manager role came around and was open, Rebecca Harris, who is no longer with us, but was instrumental in the Main Street program, was instrumental in the growing of our farmers market, which is really a highlight market for Northern Michigan. They encouraged me to move on it, and I did so, and almost 5 years later, here we are as a Main Street director.
I love it. Let's go off script a little bit, just because I want to talk about the farmers market, because you here it's such a highlight not only for Boyne City, but like you said, Northern Michigan, and a lot of our communities. That's a need that you hear really frequently. I wish we had a farmers market, or people thinking back to the glory days of their farmers. I remember when this entire parking lot was filled, and I wish that could come back. Or maybe they do have a farmers market, but it might be struggling a little bit. What is it that has made the farmers market here in Boyne City successful and thriving, and really kind of a centerpiece of this community, do you think?
Yeah, I think this is likely something that you'll hear throughout your time here with us this morning is the community. I think that we have these little communities within our communities, within this community, and the farmers market happens to be one of those. The group itself and the vendors are very close, help each other out. There's a really good spirit there and vibe, a lot of really friendly interactions. And the farmers market truly has become a bit of a community meeting place. I've seen over the last few years, a lot of people in town that they meet down here and they shop together, then they get something to eat and they walk around a little longer and hang out. So I think it's sort of a smaller community within this community, and it provides some community members, not all, but some community members a great space to just feel free and interact and feel at home.
I love your talk about how it's the people creating the farmers market that makes the farmers market, because a couple weeks ago I was surfing some community social media, and I saw in one of the community groups somebody kind of bemoaning why don't we have a farmers market, and a surprising amount of the comments were directed directly at the city. Well, it's the city's job, the city's government, like, well, they should do it. Why aren't they doing it? Where are tax dollars going? All of these other communities have farmers market, but it's our government, it's our city commissioners, or that they're to blame for this. And I think you're pointing out the answer to that is you've got to have people to do it. The community has to take ownership of it. If you want it to work, it can. But there's got to be a market manager, and there's got to be marketing, and there's got to be kind of this logistical back end work. You don't get to just live in a place and then have amazing things. You've got to create them yourself.
Yeah.
Another component to the success of our farmers market is the fact that Main Street took it over. I don't remember how many years ago it was, but it was run by another group in town, and there was a lot of fighting among the farmers, and it just wasn't running well. And it was proposed that Main Street take it over. We did. Brought the structure that Jordan just talked about with the Main Street manager. They had meetings. I mean, it became organized and structured, and that really provided the foundation for the success we see today.
Yeah, and what I'll do too, Michelle, is I'll try to alternate responses and stuff, so that if you need to get up, if you need to get a drink of water or something like that, you can kind of maybe prevent some of that a little bit. But I'll try to accommodate too. Okay. I think that's a really common issue, just not with farmers markets, but in a lot of communities. Is we're full of people who want to do things and start things, and over the years, it might become disorganized, or it might become dysfunctional, or it might become like all of these issues creeping in. And community after community, I hear the greatest benefit of Michigan Main Street is it gives structure, and it gives direction, and it creates really the back end systems and expertise, and really a community of other Main Street directors that can be such a miracle for so many of our communities. For instance, I love farmers markets. I have no idea how to start a farmers market or how to run one, but I could go out there, I could start one, and I'm going to tell you, it's probably not going to be the best, because I'm not super qualified for it. I'm busy. I'm also very disorganized. But to have some kind of structure and some kind of leadership and direction there can be such a miracle. So let's go back to all the way back to the beginning of Boyne City Main Street, because next year you're celebrating your 20th anniversary as a Main Street. How cool is that? Michelle, why did Boyne City, or what did Boyne City see in the Main Street program that was like, yes, this is for us, this can help us accomplish what we want?
We had a downtown development authority prior to the Main Street program. And the Main Street, of course, is a DDA.
Yeah.
And it was not going well. A lot of angst and disagreements and such, and we knew we had to do something differently in order to move our community forward. So we had a community member who is on our Main Street board, Jody Adams, who went out and researched other ways to go about, community building. I mean, this is community development. And she brought the proposal back about the Main Street program. It was investigated, and City Commission approved it, and we decided to go after the Main Street program. We were one of the first in Michigan.
Wow.
Working with the state, and so I was a charter member of the Main Street board, and little by little we learned. We had the structure that you just alluded to, worked with the state and got our program going, and step by step over the years, and here we are now. Yeah. We won the National Great American Main Street Award. Amazing, and so much more good yet to come.
Yeah, and we'll dive into that specifically, that award in just a second. But over the last 20 years, and Jordan, if you want to take this one first, or if you want to throw it to Michelle right away, over these past 20 years, what have you seen? How have you seen Main Street change Boyne City? What has been the effect? What has been the result of this program here?
Well, I do not have the 20 years of backstory. I've got roughly 6 or 7, and I know that if in my time here, I'll have to speak to more to what I know right
Yeah,
now, and
that's
that
fine.
is
I love that because we get kind of like the 5-year
Yeah.
development. We can get the 20-year development with Michelle. Go ahead.
and I think besides the downtown programming, I think the community, again, I just kind of have to go back to that, has just been so so resilient and vibrant, and there are people in the community that are rough around the edges and gruff, and but there's still like an eclectic group of people that really get along and cooperate together and are involved in a lot of different things. And I think that spoke to me. And I saw that even when I worked at the bakery and then later the farmer's market, and now even more so as the director of the Main Street program. And additionally, I think I would add the summer programming, as well as the programming that happens throughout the year, is really community centered. Our Stroll the Streets, which is going to turn 20 years also with us this next year. That was started out as a summer downtown Friday night like community event, and it's turned into something that's really become iconic for us and that we're known for in the summertime. But it really was. The programming was geared towards, let's do something for the people here. And I think other communities have seen that. They've tried to replicate it. And then people from other communities have gotten something from the spirit of that event and the spirit of the community, and they keep coming back.
I think you're pointing out something that hasn't been pointed out so far in all of these interviews, in that when you as a community do better and you're growing and you're coming up with new ideas and the ideas become popular, that can benefit other communities as well. Somebody comes and visits and they're like, man, Stroll the Streets is awesome. We need that here. Well, now you have made that community better because they take that idea back. Or you're seeing a lot of like longest table events where they shut down a street and the entire street is now a table and everybody sits down for a meal. You're seeing that. Like, that started in one community and now it has spread, and now it's a beautiful gift to so many other communities. Michelle, what do you see as kind of the changes that Main Street has contributed here to Boyne City?
The only word that comes to mind is transformational. I mean, certainly the events have been incredible, the vibe, the energy, but we've done nuts and bolts things like infrastructure, redoing, under the streets, sidewalks. We redid all the roads, years ago. So because we've got the funding mechanism to do these things. So, from that to, helping businesses, we were really involved during COVID with survival of our businesses, with programs that were available, and we reached out to all of them and just kind of, helped everyone else along.
You also point out something I think is really important, because sometimes you mentioned DDA. Sometimes the concept of a DDA or a downtown organization is that it's just programming, it's just events, it's just kind of promotion and posting on social media, which of course is critical. But the idea of a Main Street program doing infrastructure and buying buildings and redoing streets and providing really that hard development that can really lay the foundation and is so necessary in so many of our communities can come through that Main Street program, by having the funding mechanism, by having the organization that's able to pull something off like that. I mean, over the course of 20 years, huge difference.
It's been a lot, and it's ongoing. We're not doing huge projects like that right now, but we are doing, the trees and, we do the holiday lighting. I mean, it's just, if we were to make a list of it, it'd be incredible.
Yeah. Michelle, as long as I'm talking to you, if a community's listening to this and they're kind of going in and out, is the Main Street right for us? Should we pursue this? What would you say to them as they're at the very beginning of this journey that you guys started 20 years ago?
We've actually helped a lot of communities.
Cool.
They've come over and we've, informed them, given them tours, answered their questions. So I would say definitely explore it. It's made all the difference for Boyne City.
Yeah. Jordan, what would you say?
I would say invest in your community, and find where the pulse of your community is beating, and try to sync up with what's happening in town. I think if you're starting something, you really are going to have to start it with, as many people on board as possible, and really listening to what your community has to say, what their needs are, what they'd like to see. I think that's going to go a long ways in the building of something that's going to have some sustainability.
What you're saying about you can't do this solo is such a good point, because you have people that are fired up about their community and they see a need, and then they go out there thinking that they can spearhead this thing themselves, and it's too much work. You're not going to win, and if you're doing community work, you need the community behind you too. And
So I think a good example of that is we're looking at mapping our assets throughout our DDA. So we're going to put a GPS coordinate with the trees, and they're going to be there. Some of them are already marked, and people are going to be able to go and find that. Well, that all happened because, one, our community has somebody that absolutely loves trees, and two, our community also has somebody that really loves spreadsheets. And the two of these people came around.
What an amazing combination!
Yeah. So, and we put our talents together, and they're out there, and it really has spurred on the idea, and other departments in the city are looking at how can we also use this, and so we're I think it's I say all that not to make any mention of the tree thing or to give it any kind of super importance, but just that I think it's the people. You find the people that are in love with this, and to ask them to do that would be no trouble for them.
Mm-hmm.
And that could be, that's something that I think will help with some of the volunteer struggles that are going on right now nationally, and also in our own community, is just looking for those people that love the idea, that love trees, or that love spreadsheets, or that love to see our lakeshore thrive, and then you utilize that passion for good, and you build it into your program.
I love the idea of following momentum instead of going to the person that hates spreadsheets and say, hey, can you document every single tree in our community? Project, they probably not going to do it.
Yeah,
or it's going to take
a long walk
4
off
years.
One of our short periods.
Yeah, they're like, no way, man. But you go to the person that lives and breathes and dies spreadsheets. They're going to have it to you in 2 weeks, and they're going to say, if you need anything more, let me know.
Yeah, and that's where you find the heartbeat of your community, and then you'll come into contact with the person that loves coffee, or the person that loves the parks, or the person that loves flowers. And then I think it's important to try to build off of what your people in that community already love. And then you've got people that are willing to help right away because they love it.
Speaking,
and the other point about that is we say yes. Somebody comes with an idea. It's amazing the things that have happened in this community around these interest groups that Jordan was describing. And we believe in diversity of, passions and interests and opinions and all that. I was thinking about it the other day. We've got the trails, we've got the dog park, all these things that were spurred by an individual with a passion, and it's become amazing.
That's kind of I don't want to say scary, but it's something that many communities almost avoid in that reaching into the community for ideas, reaching into the community to figure something out, or asking the open-ended question, what do you want to do? And then following it up with, okay, let's do it. It can be a kind of a scary thing because it's unknown, and you can top-down program things and you kind of inflict whatever you'd like on the community. But Michelle, I think you bring up a great point, is that if, and also Jordan, if you follow people to what they love and you allow them space to do that and you give them a yes, you're going to end up at the end of 20 years, at the end of 10, 5, 1 year, with a community that is considerably more interesting than if you just kind of cookie cutter stamped, what you see other communities doing. Because I've never heard of a community mapping trees with GPS coordinates. But here in Boyne City, that's going to be a thing. And it brings another layer of interest and identity and culture and vibrancy and individuality that you just can't find other places.
Main Street is not a template.
Yeah.
It's, like Jordan said, it's brought about by the personality of the community. Grassroots with deep roots.
Grassroots with deep roots. I love it. I love it. I was camping a couple years ago with my in-laws at Young State Park. Is that what it is? Close?
Yeah.
Okay, a Young State Park. Come down to Boyne City. I think we grabbed some ice cream or something, and all I heard for like an hour straight was the roar of boat engines just burning down. And I asked my
Wonder
father-in-law,
what could have been going on.
yeah, I was like, what is this? Like, is the earth splitting in half, or like what is happening? And he told me about the Thunder Poker Run. Jordan, can you tell me about what this event is?
Sure. Well, it's the Boyne Thunder Poker Run. So for those that don't know, a poker run is not a race, but rather, a boat show kind of, where, the participants, they will drive to 5 different locations. Each location, they receive a card. And at the end of the race, there's a winner based on the hand that they got as they randomly selected cards throughout the race. It's designed as a fundraiser. The Boyne Thunder supports 2 local nonprofit charities. One is Challenge Mountain, the other is Camp Quality USA. And it's a great example of what an idea can do for not just a community, but for, a region. Because the Boyne Thunder is certainly not a local event anymore. It's a regional event. It's an event that impacts Northport and Elk Rapids, Harbor Springs, Petoskey, Charlevoix, Traverse City, and all of their bedroom communities. And the race has stops in some of the locations that I just mentioned.
Oh, very cool.
So, and it starts here and it ends here. And it's a fantastic, show. It really just is. It's just that. It's entertainment and it's a show. And it's grown into something that's really well liked by some, and also, others have their own opinions on it too. But there's at the end of the day, there's no. There will be no denying that it's done a lot of good and has raised thousands and thousands of dollars for local nonprofit charities that help our kids up here in northern Michigan.
Do you know how the idea began for this?
I do.
Yeah, go ahead.
We had a woman in our community who no longer lives here who proposed the idea to the Main Street Board years and years ago. And we investigated it and gave it a try, and it's just grown astronomically over the years. This was the biggest one.
This last
ever.
year was the biggest we've ever had.
Any estimate on how many people?
It will be so hard to say. We've heard people say 20 to 25,000. I think over the weekend it's safe to say that we definitely had that many people coming in and out of Boyne City for sure.
Wild. Yeah. It's such a great example that if you reach into your community and you really embrace the ideas and the identity, you can make what some would consider a ridiculous idea a world-class event. I mean, you think about this, like, what if we get people in boats and they go to different locations and they get a card, and that's their poker hand? Other communities would look at that and like, oh, okay, well, maybe let's table that and think about it 3 or 5 years from now. But because you guys listened to that, you said yes. Now you have an event that nobody else has. Like, it's very individual to Boyne City, and I love that idea. It's more than just a cookie cutter event. Like, you can come to Boyne City and you can hop in your boat and you can do a poker run.
Yeah.
Wild.
Yeah, it's really is incredible. I should mention too that this last year I really took it upon myself to be out there and interact with the volunteers that help out in all the different places. And let me tell you, it is a giant machine. It's like chaos in its purest form, but it still somehow works. And the volunteers that make this thing work are from all over northern Michigan. And I talked with a lot of these different men and women, and they come because they love it. Some of them have been coming for 15, some of them have been coming for 20, some of them it's their first year, but there's a lot of energy. The volunteers love it. It's active. It's a wild, kind of fun, crazy weekend for our community.
Let's broaden the scope a little bit, because I want to dive into this award that you received in 2020. I believe Boyne City was Main Street of the Year, or Main Street of the Year, the national award, Great American Main Street. How did that make you feel?
Exuberant. It was fabulous. It was an acknowledgement of everybody's hard work, recognition. Yeah, that little Boyne City can win that award. We'd applied a couple years prior to winning it, and we just kept honing, our programming and the applications, and then we won.
Wild.
But it was during COVID, so
Yeah,
they
right.
didn't have a national Main Street conference that year, so we couldn't go and strut our stuff.
Yeah.
But anyway, we got it.
Yeah, you got the award anyway.
Yeah.
What in Jordan? I'll ask you first, and then Michelle, you can follow up. What makes a great American Main Street? Maybe think about like giving other communities the cheat sheet. They're gunning for this award. What makes a Main Street a great American Main Street?
I think I'm gonna have to fall back to the 4 points that the Michigan Main Street program really has fine-tuned, and those are the economic vitality and all of the other ones that I'm totally drawing a blank right now. That's so terrible.
The lights are hot. The camera's on.
All
Cut him a
right.
break.
Yeah, organization, marketing and promotions, and
Design.
and those 4 points really hit. They really capture everything that takes place in a downtown community, and that goes down to like infrastructure stuff that Michelle had mentioned. Our light poles, do we have lake access for people that come and visit? How do our parks look? What are the sidewalks like? And then on top of that, there's the programs that develop the downtown, the facade grants, and then there's the summer and winter and shoulder season programming that takes place. And so I think there's such a great model in that program, and it covers the bases, so to speak, that sort of brings the whole thing together.
Got to be the total package. Michelle, what about you? What do you think makes a great American Main Street?
Consistency, over time, keeping the energy and the vibe going, and always improving and getting better and trying new things. Another key thing that we haven't really talked about yet is the relationships with the city, Chamber of Commerce,
Real good.
other organizations. I
Yeah.
mean, we work intimately with all these other groups, and what did I say the other day? The sum of the parts is greater than the whole. So we really practice that, and you have to, or you'll be button heads, and instead we work together.
Yep. Yeah, it's not Main Street working on an island by itself, kind of carrying the torch and doing its Main Street thing. It's really, it's knitted into the fabric of the community as yet another asset. And when everybody's moving in the same direction, just magic.
I think being a smaller town, we're kind of thrown into that in a way because a lot of people in town wear a lot of different hats also. And so there's that overlap that I think kind of helps in a way, because they're the people that are involved in the Main Street program. Some of them are also business owners downtown, and some of them are also active community members, and it just kind of gives a bigger and better perspective.
Yeah.
I've always called it cross-pollination.
Yeah.
We attend each other's meetings. We know what's going on. We share ideas. Yeah. So we're not stepping on toes.
I love that advice for so many of our communities, especially small communities. I mean, you end up having a very small community with different business districts, and nobody knows what's going on, and then things get weird because it's like, well, downtown versus blank, and like, oh, no, it shouldn't be that way. It's us working together to improve us.
Yeah.
But we don't always agree.
Most definitely.
Yeah. And that's healthy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not a weird thing to not agree, especially when you've got thousands of opinions involved.
Yeah.
May I show you this?
Yes,
we
please.
have this code of conduct that Main Street has adopted.
Oh.
I'll just read one sentence.
Yeah.
We are committed to encouraging, creating, and sustaining an environment that honors the inherent dignity of every member of our community. Respectful behavior should always be the norm in all forms of communications and in all situations. And then we have some bullet points. We can disagree without being disagreeable. So
I'm taking a photo of this, and I'm going to blast it all over social media. When did you come up with this?
well, actually, in my business, I work with chambers of commerce all over the Midwest. And, we were talking about this, undercurrent of lack of civility and all that. And we started to think about how can we bring this concept to our communities. So as a result of that meeting, I drafted this and presented it to our city commission, to Main Street, and our neighboring township, and we all adopted it, and we have it on our walls. So feel free.
I love it. I mean, I'm just like picking out just like beautiful, brilliant words here. Inherent dignity of every member of our community.
Yeah, that's great. I love that one.
The importance of civil debate. Free exchange of ideas, as well as the expression of provocative or less popular ideas. I love that idea, because now you're saying to the people that might have an outlying opinion, come tell us and talk about it. Open and honest dialogue. It's just it's such a beautiful kind of I don't know, redigging down into really. I don't want to say the rules of community, but really the foundation of community. If we can't talk to each other, we can't have a community. If we don't respect each other, we can't have a community. If we can't really honor the dignity of somebody who we think is completely wrong or completely off center, we don't really have a community. And so digging back down into those basic human values is such a brilliant thing.
It's not us and them. We're all fundamentally working toward the same goal.
I'm curious about you, both of your thoughts about this, because thinking over 20 years, you more than many communities have kind of seen transformation, and transformation can be a great thing. Transformation can also be a bad thing. Jordan, you first. In your mind, what makes good transformation good, or what makes bad transformation bad?
Well, I can tell you what makes good transformation good is I don't have to give me a second. I have to cut that. I have to think for a second.
That's fine. Thinking
good
is good.
Transformation good. I always do better when I don't think about things.
Yeah.
So, all right. So what really makes good transformation good, at least speaking from this community, is when transformation is inclusive. I think when transformation leaves out segments of your community, parts of your community, parts of your population, you end up with long-term issues and really an unsustainable program, because the buy-in isn't broad enough. Yeah, so I think that's what makes good transformation good. A bad transformation bad is probably when those things aren't happening. Is when the community's voice isn't heard, when people aren't getting that opportunity to weigh in, and then the transformation is maybe transformation for these people, but it's not transformation for anybody else.
Oh, I just love this answer so much. I mean, you think about like transformation and the moving forward. If you are not grouping everybody into that forward movement, really what you're doing, as you were talking, the picture popped into my brain that you are tearing gaps in the community even bigger, because yes, this group of people, the movers and shakers, or people of a certain race or income level, they're moving forward. But meanwhile, the rest of the community is still back here. And so now you have this gap in the community that at one point could have been mended and solved relatively easily, and now everybody could go forward. But now, if that transformation remains unchecked and uninclusive, you've got a 10-year, 20-year, 25-year gap of inequality within your community that leads to so many issues, like you said, an unsustainable program, but then you get relational issues and economic issues and just really deep-seated issues that take generations to try to unpack.
Yeah.
Michelle, what about you? What makes good and bad?
Change is hard. It's hard for all of us. And we've had some bad transformation here. Proposals that were moving forward. And, if you've lived here a long time, as I have, that change can be upsetting. We don't want to lose the flavor of who we are, what our community's always been. But I found that through bad transformation situations, that education is the key. You know, you educate about whatever the topic is that you're dealing with before you move forward with it. And that way, better ideas can come, things you wouldn't have thought of. But I just think that's key to any transformative process.
Yeah, most definitely.
Yeah.
When you guys look into the crystal ball of Boyne City's future, what do you need to have happen, or what do you want to see happen? Obviously, this you're not speaking for the community, and you're kind of speaking from your own opinion. But what do you think you need, or what do you see happening, or what do you want to have happen? Michelle first, or Jordan first.
Well, I'd like to see I would like to see a continued program that involves community and community engagement and community input. I think going forward, that's going to be key for us. It hasn't always been good transformation, and you know, even what we've captured here today and what we've said may give someone the impression that things just seem to really go well here and they're great, and they're not. You know, that's the thing, is that, like, I think that the good that's come has been birthed out of a lot of struggle and heartache, you know? And so we have a real we have a work before us to continue that, but to also grab more people and get them in and get them a part of the vision, a part of where we see the community going. Because I think our community right now is no different from a lot of other communities going in the United States, where there's a lot of economic turmoil. There is there's the us and them, you know, the not in my backyard, and we're certainly not, you know, free from any of that. And I think we've been insulated a little bit from some of that, but we've also experienced it ourselves, and it'll be important for us in the next 5 years to really include all of our community members and make sure we're building something for the next 20 that includes the voices of those that maybe are on the fringe right now or feel that they're on the fringe.
Michelle, what about you?
We've got some big issues to tackle, and we're not afraid of it. As you've probably heard everywhere, housing. And, you know, we're coming together to work on some solutions for that. We've got a program that we're working on here. Of course, workforce is tied to housing. We have every single business in our community needs staffing. And we have been very successful in our business park in bringing in wonderful family-sustaining jobs. But now we need people to fill those jobs. So, I mean, it's tangentially a Main Street issue. It's, you know, all of the other groups in the community working on it together. But to Main Street, infrastructure, ongoing infrastructure enhancements and improvements over time. I'd love to see a boardwalk all the way along the Boyne River in our downtown. We've talked about that for years. And wouldn't it be cool to have a little pedestrian bridge over the river? I would just, you know, to link everything. I see us having a strong downtown, even with the internet and online shopping and all that. We have unique businesses that people like to frequent. Cultural change is going on, obviously, with short-term rentals and people coming into our community, remote work, all that. So we've already noticed the change in the culture. So we need to really be mindful of that and watch that doesn't create this rift that you just described.
Well, I just love this conversation so much. I mean, what you guys have really talked about is it really comes from this perspective of digging into this work for 20 years. Like, I think it's a perspective that you obviously have earned. And I think a perspective that can be beneficial to so many communities, from how do we deal with the human element of our communities? How do we deal with each other with honor and respect and dialogue? How do we embrace and understand the fact that it is going to be messy work? That it's when somebody stands up in a council meeting and they have a contrary opinion, that's to be expected and embraced, because that's the messy work of working in a community. But something you said with Michelle, you said, was consistency. If you keep working together, if you keep talking to each other, if you keep organized and you keep leveraging and reaching into the community, 20 years from now, community transformed because you are willing to do all of this for enough time to be able to look back across 2 decades and say, we are 1,000% better community than what we were 20 years ago because we were willing to acknowledge the fact that we need to do this better because we deserve better, and we're going to create the community that we all deserve. Just a beautiful conversation here in Boyne City. As always, you can check Boyne City out on Facebook, internet, all those things, but you should get in your car, in your boat, in your canoe, whatever it takes, and come to Boyne City and really experience it for all of its Main Street glory. Looking forward to following you guys over the next 20 years and seeing where you go from here. So my new friends, Jordan and Michelle here in Boyne City, for another episode of Michigan Main Street Stories. Thanks so much, guys.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you, Phil. Appreciate it.